Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. I'm your DJ and host, Sam Wilson Jr., and I'm here to bring you the history genre of black music: gospel, jazz, blues, old school classic soul, old school hip hop, today's hip hop and R&B, Caribbean, Latin, Afrobeat, Afro-Latina, blue-eyed soul, disco, go-go, line dances, and the Lost 45s. So come with me as I take you on to a trip to the history genre destination of black music, right now on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and I have a special guest on my show. And this lady that I'm about to introduce is a singer, entrepreneur, and a keynote speaker. She and her husband founded their production company, Hearts in Sync Productions. She also wrote the book called More Than the Bottom Line, which later became a musical. And yes, both husband and wife had founded a group called Heart Soul Revival. So please help me welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, Ginine Smith and her husband, Tracy Smith. Hi, you two. How are you?
Hello.
Great. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing fine, and you? Welcome to my podcast. Glad to have you here, and just check and see how that LP promotion have came out.
Woo.
It's working. It's still working through. We have a lot of gifts we got to give out yet.
It's going really well. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for your response. And I posted something on Alignable, and you had responded. So again, thank you for your request. And yes, I have responded. So
Yes.
thank you again. Okay, so the world may not know who you are. America doesn't know who you are. So it's my privilege to interview the both of you. So let us begin, shall we? Now, Ginine, where were you born?
Pasadena, California.
Pasadena, California, home of the Rose Bowl and the Tournament of Roses parade. So I'm no
Yes.
stranger to that because I watch the Tournament of Roses parade every New Year's Day.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
amazing. I got to go live a couple times.
oh, okay. Now, were your parents in the music industry or did they had 9-to-5 day jobs?
Well, and we are definitely a couple duo in everything we do. So I just wanted to make that clear, even though I reached out on Alignable. We are Hearts and Sync Productions, and this is my husband, Mr. Tracy Lee Smith. Did you want to know where he was born?
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. Tracy, I'll
It
start
kind
with
of
you.
fits
Where were
into
you?
our storyline.
Yes.
Yeah, I was born in Reading, Pennsylvania. Well, actually, not really Reading. It was Valley Forge General Hospital. It was like right outside of Valley Forge, in an Army hospital.
Oh, okay. So I'm no stranger to that because every time I hear the commercial, Mount Airy Lodge or Reading, Pennsylvania, best known for its clothing outlets. So I'm no stranger to that one.
So I'm
Okay.
from the
Now,
West Coast. He's from the East Coast.
oh, okay. Perfect. Now, as I say the question, were any of your parents were in the music industry or they had 9-to-5 day jobs?
A little of both. My mom was a fantastic singer, opera kind of choir-like vocals. My grandfather was a stand-up bass player in the big bands back in those times, but he also had a day job as an engineer. And then my uncle was from Chicago, a classical pianist. And so it kind of ran in the family, but kind of a little of both. It's really difficult in the music industry. And so sometimes you kind of have to do the day job while you're, you know, getting the experience and hours and stuff into your music career. I think you had a little bit of the same.
Yeah, my family has a lot of history through music as well. But my mom, when she was growing up, she got offered to play with a big band and didn't have the money for the gowns to do it. So later on in life, she decided to kind of invest in her children, who all went on and did a lot of musical things. She had a 9-to-5 job, and I'll tell you what, she worked for the Department of Welfare, and she answered the phone. I'll tell you, it was weird because I'd call her after school and go, "Hey, Mom, how are you doing?" And she'd be like, talking on the phone really sexy, like, "Hi, this is the Department of Welfare. June speaking." I go, "Mom, you're sounding too sexy on the phone." Like, who does she want to date coming on the line from the Department of Welfare? I don't know.
Hilarious.
It's funny.
Now, Ginine, which high school did you go to?
Well, that's a loaded question because we were in Southern California and I lived up in the mountains, and so my high school is called Rim of the World High School. But then my dad was killed right before my junior year, and so I finished out my junior year in California, and then my mom moved us up, all 6 kids, to Washington State, and so I graduated from Lake Washington High School in Kirkland, Washington.
Okay, well, my condolences goes out to you, Ginine. And
Thank
Tracy,
you.
I'll ask you, Tracy, I'm gonna ask you the same question too. Which high school did you go to?
I went to Wilson High School in West Lawn, Pennsylvania. The Bulldogs. They were pretty good school. Won a lot of sports titles and stuff like that there in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Now, Ginine, which college did you go to?
Bellevue College. It's kind of an offshoot of the University of Washington and the city of Bellevue, Washington.
Okay.
Did I say that? Yeah, university. And I have to apologize in advance if I do cough or sneeze. We have been sick for like 2 weeks. Even though we're better now, there's still those lingering things. So I sincerely apologize.
Okay. Apologies accepted. Tracy, I'll ask you the same question as well. Which high school did you go to?
Yeah, I went to Wilson High School, but I went to Reading Area Community College for my associate's degree in like a computer science kind of thing. It's teaching teachers how to use computers in the classroom and stuff like that. So it was pretty forward at the time when I went there.
Okay. And which college did you go to, Ginine?
The Bellevue College.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like an off-campus program or offshoot of University of Washington.
Okay. What was your major in college? I meant to ask you that. What was your major in
For
college?
me, it was business management with a minor in music, songwriting.
Okay. And Tracy, you?
Basically, applied sciences and computer. It was information technology, which was teaching teachers how to use technology in the classroom, which is like bringing like computers and visual aids in the classroom. But I kind of minored in cafeteria, sitting in it.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
Yeah, spent a lot of time there studying.
Now, Ginine, who did you want to be when you grow up?
Oh my gosh, I always wanted to be a rock star. From the time I was little, I've been singing since I was 2. I was really into the musicals, theatrical. My favorite was West Side Story. I'd perform like the entire, play for my mom, like in the living room. But yeah, I didn't know what it meant to be a rock star. I just knew that I wanted to be one.
You're my rock star.
Ah.
Yes.
And Tracy, I'll ask you the same thing. Who did you want to be when you grow up?
Well, when I was young, I remember having a stereo in my bedroom and that I could take the speakers so I can put them anywhere in the room. I put them real close and I lay down on the floor and I was listening to the Beatles. I thought, oh man, that is something I want to be. I want to be just like them. They're just so melodic and everything they did is just like, oh. So yeah, I wanted to be a rock star since 5 years old.
Now, Ginine, how old were you when you started singing?
I was like 2, truly. But as far as like being involved in any sort of organized thing, it was like elementary school. I started out, like in band and in choirs, and then in high school, I kind of graduated to, the small ensembles. It was always like jazz and music like that, so I got really acquainted with that style and um, kind of just I loved all music. So, but it was pretty early on, definitely.
Okay. And Tracy, I'll ask you the same question.
Well, when I first started singing, uh, it was in church, but it was kind of an odd way how we got there. I first started going to church, and the earliest I can remember, my mom would embarrass just the crap out of me. I'm like, what is going on? Because my mom would sing so loud, and I was like, this can't be normal, right? It's like she's singing so good, but it was so good that after a while, everybody was just like, oh, she can really sing, and they kind of drafted her in the choir. And when she got drafted in the choir, she brought me in there too. So I'm like 7 years old singing in the choir with them. It's like really wow.
It's adorable.
Now, Ginine, was being a singer and songwriter your calling?
I believe so. Anything that has to do with words, storytelling, uh, you know, voice is so important that, being able to share our voice. And I don't mean necessarily, our singing voice, but that, I fully believe that that's what God created me to do. I would do it for free. And I think that's one of the main signs of knowing that it's your passion and calling is when you continue to do something, even this late in life, and you just keep at it because you love it so much. And like I said, you would do it for free, and so does that answer your question?
Yes, that answers my question.
Okay.
And Tracy, I'll ask you the same question too.
Well, I look at it as music and singing and all that and writing songs, and it's kind of it's a vehicle of getting that message out there, that message of hope and love and what we're trying to get out to the world. It's not just and actually the music itself is kind of it's when people like it and they go, yeah, that's really great, you guys are awesome, that's kind of like a side benefit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not why we're not really in it to get, but I'm going to pat you on the back for doing a great job, Ginine. But she deserves it. But it's really not that. It's like we're trying to make this a worldwide mission, it's like a revolution or
A movement.
a movement, yeah.
Yes.
Because we're trying to bring hearts in sync alive throughout the world through the messages we have in our storytelling and getting people. Because when you become older, you realize that you don't necessarily have to keep talking and talking and talking in order to get a point across. You need to listen as well. You need to listen to what everybody else is dealing with and thinking about, and how can we help fix that, or give an opportunity to get in there and do something for that person. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be the Uber driver, and believe me, they have stories. Everybody's got really good stories.
Mm. Now, Ginine, growing up, who were some of your favorite singers?
Oh my goodness. I just loved so many. Uh, I'm a huge fan of all kinds of music, but like Stevie Nicks really stood out. Pat Benatar and the Hart sisters. And I think it's because they just, it's not what they do, it's who they are. It's such a part of them. Now, I love phenomenal people like Adele and Whitney Houston. I mean, people that like you listen to them and you're thinking, dang, Like God just like, threw the pixie dust on them, man, because I tell you what, I aspired to be them. But again, I think it was more like just their heart for it, their heart, soul, and passion. You could just see it, that it, in the way they move and their smile. And I just was so inspired by so many. I mean, there's too many to mention, really.
Hmm. And Tracy, I'll ask you the same question too. Who were some of your favorite singers?
When I listened to anything on top 40 on the radio growing up, there was a lot of great, and I didn't know who they were. I just, that kind of thing. And then later on got to know, but just some amazing artists out there. You're into the soul music, and I love stuff like the Spinners or something like that. Like Papa's got a Rolling Stone. Papa was a Rolling Stone. Things like, and and then I go into liking people like Deep Purple, Beatles, even like Alice Cooper, because my brother was 8 years older than me, so he got a hold of all the music. I got to listen to everything. So I was big education on music, but I loved it all. Three Dog Night, even like Yes, and you call it Rush isn't that really that?
Geddy Lee is one of our favorites. Yeah,
but it's like as a singer, I love the guys who had attitude. They could portray through their voice an attitude. Ronnie James Dio.
Oh my God,
amazing singer.
Yeah,
amazing. A lot of these great singers.
Prince.
Yeah. There's so many.
It's hard just to name a couple, because like we said early on, we really gravitated towards so many different styles and genres. Our parents, like my mom, even listened to, she loved Elvis, and she loved people like Reba Rambo, which is a Christian artist. So it's just hard to mention just one, because man, there was so much goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ginine, who were your musical influences that had inspired you to sing?
The influences, gosh, I really do have to say Stevie Nicks. And I was so little, right? And I've always been like a fashionista, even when I was a little girl. I mean, truly, like, I'd twirl around and wear, lace and all this stuff. And man, early on, I saw Stevie Nicks, and I was like, who is that girl? She was like all over the stage and just putting her entire all into it. And, to be honest with you, I'm very, very inspired by, I guess, what you would call a triple threat. And so somebody who writes, can sing, and play an instrument, but I added the fourth one, which is performance to it. To me, that's like a quadruple, because that, to me, if somebody's singing their own music, you know what I mean? Like stuff that a story from their past, it just means so much. And I think that's why I became a songwriter, because I'm like, I want to be able to do that. I want to speak from the heart and sing, what I know, like, that hopefully can resonate with somebody out there and spread a little bit of hope and resilience to people, but truly that's what inspires me.
Okay. And Tracy, I'll ask you the same question. Who were your musical influences?
Well, it's just so many. I mean, originally it's the Beatles. It'd be something like that. It'd be Alice Cooper even. But there's just so many. I'd say the 70s altogether. There was so much great talent in the 70s. I like the 60s too, and I love the 80s because I was a part of a lot of the 80s, the hair metal bands and all that, Led Zeppelin, and, but the 70s music was just like really inspiring to do a lot of really cool music. And, you can go from like listening to Led Zeppelin to go listening to like the Fifth Dimension. I mean, what? The Three Dog Night to Kansas to Boston, Steve Miller, a lot of different veins. Deep Purple, Uriah Heep. There was a lot of different all kinds of styles. And we do in our music. It seems like we'll push out something and be like, where did that come from? And it came from like a little snippet out of somebody else's catalog, I think. We're not trying to steal anything, but it just seems like, hey, we got this groove coming on. It just sounds like, it's something we heard somewhere before, but it's really isn't. We're not stealing. But yeah.
The vibe. Yeah, one of them we call the Partridge Family song.
Yeah.
It reminds us of the Partridge Family, but it's just...
and the thing about it is like when I was growing up, it had to be rock music. You can't like that disco stuff. Like everybody was like closet disco fan. We saw Casey and the Sunshine Band last year at a festival here. Oh my God, they were great. Niles Rogers.
Yeah, Niles
Rogers. It's like phenomenal. Just
oh my gosh,
amazing.
We were in heaven. Yeah.
So we're great closet disco fans from the 70s coming alive.
ABBA and Bee Gees. Yeah.
Now, Ginine, you mentioned earlier the loss of your father. Please share with our audience, what's your testimonies on what your father have shared with you before he passed away.
Oh man, that's a really good question. My dad was a complicated human being. I think now about the things that he taught me, because he worked for the government. Turned out that he actually was in the CIA, but we didn't, as children, we didn't know half the things that we do now about him. But he taught me survival, and they teach you a lot of things, when you're in the military, right? Navy. I mean, he's got family and so do I, that have been in all branches of the government. And it's so much goodness comes, of being a patriot for your country and really believing in this country and what we stand for. Freedom comes at so many different levels. But my dad also suffered from pretty severe depressive illness. And back then they didn't know what they know now. And so it was truly back then, it was like trial and error. A lot of times they'd stick you in a hospital and God knows, what they would do, to try to cure you from this depression. And again, he had such a hard life to begin with as a young person. And so he kind of turned to drugs and alcohol to numb that depression and pain. So there was a lot of sadness growing up as well for me, because again, I didn't understand why my dad sat there without a smile on his face, looking so sad. It was really hard for a young girl like myself to take. Plus I kind of had that gene as well of depression. And so when he passed, when he was taken from our family, for years, I kind of went the opposite extreme. I was a good girl up until that point, straight A in school, full scholarship to a music college, and, a good little Catholic girl. And I was so miserable and so upset by this tragedy that happened in the family. And I had to grow up so early. I didn't have really a childhood. So I turned to the dark side, drugs and alcohol. And by the grace of God, I turned to Jesus and turned my life around and got clean. And now it's like I look back and I'm able to use those stories, again, I call it before and after my dad's death, to help others, because I don't ever want people to experience the pain that I did. It's being able to take trauma, but turn it, God could take anything and turn it for good, I believe, and use our stories to help others, that might suffer from depression, might have drug or alcohol issues, might feel abandoned or, completely alone in this world. We are not alone. That's the thing, is that our message is hearts in sync, man. We are a community. We need to stick together as humans. So I went on far too long. I'll let you go on that one.
Well, again, my condolences goes out to your father, and we thank your father for his service.
Thank you.
Now, tell us about the production company that you and your husband have founded, Hearts in Sync Productions. How did that come up after the tragedy loss?
Such a great question. Do you want to start?
There was, there's a concept behind it. It kind of I was like driving to her house. It came to mind about, two hearts. I saw something on the back of somebody's car, and I saw two hearts. I said, well, that's us. We're in love. We got two hearts, and we do sync music, which is, basically you get your stuff on TV and film, which is called sync work. So we were doing that at the time. And that's how we were, getting our feet wet with writing songs together, which came naturally, by the way. Within the first 5 minutes, we're writing the song, which is amazing. So, but that Hearts in Sync came about, and then it developed into a science. So, we not just, like we said earlier, we want to really make this a movement. It's not just about, making songs for television. It really is like bringing hearts in sync together. That's why we went and traveled around the world.
Yeah, and just to expand a little bit further about the hearts in sync. So it is a science. When two hearts are in love, their hearts actually beat in sync. And they've done studies with choirs and different groups of that nature where their hearts literally beat in sync. And so we did a lot of study on that. And we've also been in the corporate world. We talked about, being in the music industry, but also working a 9 to 5. And my mom taught me well. She's like, you can't count on anything in life. So, might as well build your skill set, and I kind of put a lot of hours, not only into the singing and the music industry, but into this corporate world, working for places like Verizon and Microsoft. And what happened was, I've seen it firsthand, but we also did a lot of research into other companies, a lot of companies out there, to find out what their pain points were. And we were finding that there was like this lack of community, this lack of purpose and passion, and pain points of, just feeling like a number. A lot of people don't feel like they have a voice. They feel, at all levels of the company. I'm not just talking entry line, from the C-suite, down. They feel this disconnect, and they're getting burnt out because they're just working the grind, but they've forgotten what's important. They've forgotten their why in life. They've forgotten what really brings them joy. So when we started doing that, we did a deep down personal study, or not study, but, in going deep down, but also with other people. And we thought, why don't we take our skills that we've been doing, songwriting and singing, and like you said, writing for TV and film, and let's blend the music part with education, and with humor, and with, just take everything that we've known and bring it full circle and see what we can come up with. And that's when we wrote the stage production.
That's where that more than the bottom line came from.
Yes,
it came out of actual experiences in her life that came out.
Yes.
And I just want to say here, it is kind of strange. She's West Coast, I'm East Coast, and a lot of our lives kind of mirror a lot of things that happened to her happened to me. But when I look at her life and I see how she overcame all that she overcame with, like, a serial killer was going after her. I mean, what? And she is poised at being who she is. And it just made it so attractive to me to definitely want to catch on to this girl and marry this girl. Because, like, if she can do it, she can pull through all this stuff and have so much joy in life. That's what I want. And I think that is what Hearts in Sync is trying to create
Yes,
around the
yes,
world.
I agree.
We're trying to give everybody else the opportunity to have that joy and that peace
Yeah.
and love in their life, that they can, be happy and not have to settle with the status quo and just sit
Yeah.
back and be feeling hurt. We want that to go forth and able to strive and revive.
Yes.
And to be strong.
Yep.
Now,
Very
how many
sick.
years? Yes. Now, how many years have your production company was in existence?
How many years have we been in existence?
Yeah, the
Just a
production
couple of
company.
years.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. We actually have only been married for a year and 4 months, and kind of like what he said, as soon as we met, there was like electricity, not only on the romantic level, but having the same passion and goals and vision for servitude, for leadership and servitude. And so we started kind of talking about these ideas, even before we got married, but it's like it kind of solidified it when we got married. It's like, okay, well, now, you're kind of in, like, because we signed a paper. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's been about.
There is an art and a science to have a marriage here where we are working at home 24/7,
yes.
have this business and building this business from ground up 24/7. And it's like, what are we going to do next? It's not like we're trying to run to go to the store without each other. We're going to the store with each other. I mean, we're constantly with each other. It's like we're in constant honeymoon mode, even with the business. And when it gets to business, it's downright business. You know what I mean? So, but
yeah,
we're in total bliss. And we just know it's a godsend thing. God has put us together, and then through the little markings in her life and my life, all the way up until this point now, we know that God's in charge of it and put us together. And we just got to thank Him. Thank you, Lord, for bringing it together.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ginine, you wrote the book called More Than the Bottom Line, blending your personal experiences into narratives on a profound. Tell us about your book and share with your testimony with our audience.
So we want to clarify something. More Than the Bottom Line is a stage production. It's a screenplay. It's not a book. We are international best-selling authors, and we have written some books, but More Than the Bottom Line is actually a stage production that's geared towards company conferences. It's what we talked about earlier, blending music with a message and education, geared towards empowering leaders in the corporate world to reignite their teams. And so More Than the Bottom Line, it came from personal experiences. So, when you first start writing something like a movie or a stage production, and this was a fairly new concept to us. We've written so many different things, but never a stage production. And we've had some mentoring and some, teaching along the way. You first develop the characters. And so that was really interesting when we first stepped into this idea. We started developing the characters because, again, I had experienced so many things, from bad to good to questionable. And so we wanted to use real life experiences that we thought other companies could connect with, like, oh my gosh, that's happened to me. I have an employee just like that, or, so that's kind of how it all came about. And then it just came full circle as we started developing the characters. We were like, oh, wow, this could be so much bigger. Do you want to? Yeah,
Do I want to talk about it? Oh my goodness. It's a dramedy. So it's like drama and comedy all together. There's 4 different characters in it and a narrator.
5, yeah.
And the narrator is like a character in the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's funny, but yet really digs into the issues. And the songs are really, they jump at you. And by the time it's over, which is less than an hour, you are going to definitely be on the top of your tippy toes. You will be.
Yes.
Hands in the air and yelling or clapping at the end of it, because it's the way it just comes through. It's like an aha. Yeah.
And to piggyback on that, you know, I've been in the corporate world for a while, and I've attended many conferences, and I've also been on the staff to create the conferences, or build the conferences, you know, from start to finish, as far as procuring talent, keynote speakers, you know, all of that. And so I've been kind of like, you know, an attendee and then somebody that's planned them. And one of the biggest, I think, challenges is that they want, how do I put this? That there's so many key speakers that just talk at you, you know, and they might even pump you up while you're at the conference. Like they get you going and things like that. But then a couple days later, you leave the conference, you go home, and you're like, what did that like? And you forget the excitement, you know, because it wasn't an engaging experience. It was more like somebody talking at you. And so we, you know, again, we wanted to come up with a fresh new way of being keynote speakers and talking a really important message, um, whatever is needed at that particular company. You know, again, we do our research, we find out, okay, what are your pain points? What, you know, and when we did that, we found that a lot of people were complaining, a lot of companies were complaining about the negativity within the workforce, the disconnect, you know, that people were feeling just like a number, you know. And so with that said, we wanted to create something that was different, that people could walk away with not only tools and a message that they'll remember for years and years to come, but that actual feeling inside that causes you to make lasting change. You know, those easy step-by-step things where it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You know, and going home and not just thinking about what you just heard and saw, but actually making those changes that are lifelong changes to help you have a more compelling future, a more thriving environment at home and at work.
And the marketing side of me says, hey, we are pioneers in this because it's not really done out there.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
is like kind of like a one-of-a-kind thing that's just starting to grow into the corporate world. So it's like, hey, you give us a shot, it's going to really wow you.
Yes, yes.
Well, you saved me some time because that I was going to ask you the next question. You've answered the question. It was a dramedy, you know, because I'm not really used to those dramedies, you know, like the show MASH. First, it started out as a comedy, then it got it into dramedy. You know, you don't hear that much laugh track and anything like that.
Oh, yes,
And
laugh track.
yes, and also you answer the other question I was going to ask you. How long you've been married? You've been married for like 1 year, your first anniversary. Is that correct?
1 year and 4 months. It was September 9th.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, talk about your album Heart Soul Revival.
Yeah.
Woo! Can you see the cover art right there?
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if I'm blocking it. Heart,
Yes, I can
Soul,
see it.
Revival.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Twisted and torched, together we rise.
Oh, okay. So I see the album cover. I see a little fire in the background. Is that the car or is it something else that,
That's
you
the
know,
barn.
just my
Oh, that's the
imagination?
barn. Yes, yes. It's that's quite the story of where we came up with the album. But we'll first talk about the songs. There's 8 songs on it, and each one is a story, either our story or somebody else's. Uh, we come from different backgrounds. I was in a rock band for 9 years. He, did worship and soul and gospel, which I've done. We've done so many different styles that when we joined forces, we really wanted to come up with a unique style that was our own, bringing East Coast and West Coast together, which, you don't think that it's that much of a difference, but we're learning that, culturally, there is quite a difference there, right? It's like you think you have to go to other countries to feel that, but you don't. We have so much diversity right here in the United States, and which it's lovely. We embrace that, and we wanted to come up with this style all our own. And so we started just writing from the heart. We weren't even focused on, okay, we want this to be folk. We want this to be, singer-songwriter or blues. We didn't do that. We just kept writing, just kept at it, found a producer that absolutely loved us and our sound and wanted to help us with the production part of it.
Let's give a shout out to John Navarrete.
John Navarrete,
who's done a lot.
Fort Worth, Texas.
Done a lot of work through the sync world and getting a lot of all over the world.
Yes.
So he's very talented. Give him a call.
And we worked really hard on it, and then it just came together, these 8 songs. And again, I told you they come from all different stories. One of them came from Romania when we went on tour for the Legacy of Hope, and we met this beautiful Ukrainian refugee who had escaped the Ukraine with her 3 kids and was living at a domestic violence shelter. And we weren't allowed to take pictures or video or anything because it was very under protection. But we met this gal, and she's telling us this story about being, locked in a basement for 3 days with just a little bit of water and no food, hearing the bombs go off overhead and escaping that with her 3 kids while she left her husband off to go to war, and we just were so moved by her story that we wrote a song called 3 Days of Utopia, and that's on the record.
While we were there.
Yes. So,
that's what I'm telling you, the testament of us writers and singers. And we kind of it's such a vibe that we kind of get each other right away. And we're able to do that. And I wasn't able to do that with my former wife, 30 years, who she passed away from breast cancer with an 11-year journey doing that. And so that was a different vibe. So we were talking about vibes together as a couple. When I had to relearn over again that those things that happened for 30 years, I was not allowed to do on you. Those are tricks I'm not allowed to do on you. I had to learn brand new tricks for this lady. I'll tell you what.
Tricks. Are you married?
No, I'm still single. So you see, I live in the studio apartment. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just tell you, we got together through Christian Mingle. There is hope out there. I mean, God bless them at Christian Mingle. I don't think that was the reason why we got together. I just think it was a vehicle because there's so many things that happen through there.
And now we have an album. No, I'm just kidding.
Now we've done podcasts on that already. Our story, how we got together, and it is funny. So just look at it.
Yeah, but did we say enough about the album, or what?
Oh, you said it all. You said it all. So so now we see that turning into something positive. So with Ginine, with the loss of your father, and Tracy to the loss of your first wife. So I see something is coming, really turning positive, how you can turn tragedies from the one you just told me a few minutes ago and turn it into something uplifting, getting someone to hear your songs, what they have been through. So I'm very delighted that you said it all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Okay. Now, here's a question that I always ask my guests. Living or dead, which singer you wish you want to meet or you want to perform with?
You take it.
Well, everyone would automatically think John Lennon, and they would be correct. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
that. And I was a George Harrison fan too, but yeah. John Lennon.
Okay.
Ginine?
Living.
I have to say Prince, because he just blew me away. I mean, that guy is extraordinary. Remember I was talking earlier about all the components, played instrument, sing, heartfelt storytelling, performer. I just can't imagine that. And he had the love of so many people. I have to share this because a few days it wasn't long. I don't know the exact amount, but it was like less than a month after he passed. In Seattle, I was still living in Seattle, and my friend and I went to a Joan Osborne concert, and it was very intimate. It was at Jazz Alley, so that place holds like at the most a couple hundred people, so it's very, intimate. And I don't know if you know who Joan Osborne is. She did,
Yes,
um,
I do.
yeah,
I think
just
What If
amazing, right?
God Was One of Us? Yeah.
What if
I know
God
who
was one of
Joan
us?
Os
Yes,
Yes, I know who Joan Osborne is. I saw
yeah,
her music video and she performed on NBC Saturday Night Live. And I think it
she
was
did. She
back
did.
in the late
And so
90s.
when, oh, sorry, were you saying some? Oh, it's hard sometimes with the latency.
Yes.
So when we went and saw her perform, immediately when she got up, she was in tears, talking about Prince, and she did like 4 or 5 songs just to honor Prince. She had talked about it when she had met him and how he had inspired her in her early career and the impact that he had on her life. And she was in tears like the whole time singing these Prince songs, Purple Rain, and then she sang a couple that he had actually helped her write. And I just was like, it's like I got to know Prince through Joan Osborne because she had spent that precious time with him, one on one, and I haven't. So that meant the world because knowing everything that I just said from a distance about Prince, and then learning about him so intimately through another songwriter, I just was in awe of this person. That he had made such an impact, on Joan Osborne of all people, right? So yes.
Okay. Now, here on the Black Soul Music Experience, I always ask my guests who is the top 10 singers of all time. So, since I have you, husband and wife, we're going to do the Black Soul Music Experience top 10 R&B Black and Blue-Eyed Soul artists of all time. Now,
Love it.
here's how it works. We do it
Okay.
like a top 10 countdown. I'm sure you've been watching, America's Top 10. We start at number 10 and then we work up to number 1. So we start at number 10. We'll say who is the best singer but didn't get any recognition, which is the bottom 5. When we get to the top 5, who was the best singer of all time, that artist had top 10 hits, number 1 hits, that artist received albums that went gold, platinum, double platinum, triple platinum, and today diamond platinum. Did that artist receive a Grammy or an American Music Award or a Soul Train Award or a BET Award or an MTV VMA Award? Was that artist inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? That artist performed on American Bandstand or Soul Train or The Midnight Special or Saturday Night Live or Solid Gold or Hee Haw? And that they had their own primetime special on CBS or NBC or ABC, or that they had that special on PBS during Pledge Month. So, Ginine, Tracy, I'll put you to the test. So we'll start at the bottom 5. So
Oh, yeah.
who should be at number 10?
Who should be at number 10? Oh my goodness. I need like a piece of paper because I don't want to say the ones that should be in the top 5. You know what I mean? Like, who would you?
Let's go with Stevie Wonder.
Okay,
That's
Stevie
number 10.
Wonder.
Who should be in the
He's
top 10.
one of the best. Top 10, yes.
Oh,
Singer, songwriter, arranger, composer,
he's
Grammy
all of the
Award
above.
winner,
Oh,
American
okay.
Music Award winner,
Yeah.
Oscar winner, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, activist who was involved with making Dr. King Day a national holiday, and he was involved with USA for Africa, We Are the World, number 1 hit on both Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and on the R&B Black Singles charts. And yes, he stood up for what he believed in, whether it's
Yep.
making Dr. King a national holiday, or protesting against apartheid in South Africa. Stevie Wonder was there, everything that turns to gold. So I always ask the fans out there if they're a big fan of Stevie Wonder, why can't they listen to his voice when it comes to songs that dealt with social issues, dealing
Right,
from
right.
systematic racism to drug abuse to AIDS to everything his
Yeah,
song turns it turns into gold.
yeah.
Okay. Who should be at number 9? Who's next? Number
Oh
9.
my goodness. Oh, excuse me. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. It's like I don't want to say Ray Charles. I don't want to say Aretha Franklin because they're going to be in the top 5. Can we go with Lionel Richie? No,
You could.
it's not so much, soul, I guess.
Well, yeah, Lionel Richie, he started out with the Commodores. He was the lead singer for the Commodores when it was first introduced back in 1974, all the way up to 1981. He did a duet with Diana Ross, number one hit, Endless Love. And then 82, he went solo. He had some solo albums that went gold and platinum. His debut solo hit was Truly, number one hit on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts. And his second album, Can't Slow Down, his album was nonstop. He had all the hits, including All Night Long, and then followed by Love Will Find the Way, and then Easy Lover, and then Hello, you know, just to name a few. So Lionel Richie was nonstop, and then also Running with the
Yes.
Night, everything. He had 5 straight hits from his Can't Slow Down LP. He won an American Music Award, Grammy Award, and everything. And yes, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the class of 2021. So he's been doing everything. So we'll put Lionel Richie at number 9. Okay, who should be at number 8?
Uh, who's number 8?
It's like I'm kind of being selfish a little bit because it's like I know who should be there. And I'm thinking like, yeah, I wasn't really, I know they're great and all that. There's like, but there's like certain ones that pop out to me. You know what I mean? That through my childhood and all that might not be as big of a name as people think.
Well, just say it.
Like when you have somebody like Sam and Dave. The Hold
Okay,
On Company.
we'll put Sam and Dave right there. They were from the Stax family back in the
Mhm.
60s. They had their songs, Hold On, I'm Coming, Soul
Mhm.
Man, and
Mhm.
When Something's Wrong with My Baby, just to name a few. They had some hits, number one hits on Billboard's soul singles charts, and you had Isaac Hayes and David Porter writing the songs for them, and the house band Booker T and the MGs. So they
Mhm.
had some journeying hits
Mhm.
back in the 60s. So rest in peace to Mr.
Yeah.
Sam Moore, who was the last half of the duo of Sam and Dave. And in case, yeah, Sam had appeared in the Blues Brothers 2000 back then. So, Dan Aykroyd and the late John Belushi, they were influenced by blues and soul music. So they had most of their favorite singers in parts 1 and 2. So we'll put Sam and Dave at number 8.
And
All right, who
8.
should
I
be at
Okay.
number 7?
just you
7.
just you just reminded me, and it's really wild, is because I was in a show band in the early '80s. It was called Byron Blues and the Gangsters, and we
Hmm.
did a lot of those Blues Brothers songs. And it just came alive to me what we used to do. It was so much fun back then.
Let's go with James
Oh,
Brown
okay.
James Brown,
for
there you
7.
go.
The
Yeah.
godfather of soul, Mr.
Yeah.
James Brown. And he's been turning out hits back in the late 50s with his debut single, Please, Please, Please. And then into the 60s where Papa's got a brand new bag, I Feel Good. And then when he
Mhm.
got to the late 60s, he've gotten, more social issues and got into the 70s with more riffs. And in case you may not know, all of the hip hop artists of the 70s and 80s, they were influenced by James Brown. So they had to
Yeah.
sample some
Yeah.
of their riffs and
Yeah.
backgrounds.
Yeah.
So he laid the foundation for the future generation of hip hop. So we'll put James Brown at number 7. And yes, he won a Grammy and American Music Award merit, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the first one for the class of 1986. So we'll put James Brown at number 7.
Woo! We need a female in there.
You need a female in there.
Whitney Houston.
We'll put her there. Whitney, yes, the Princess of Pop came on the scene back in 1985 with her debut LP. Had a string of hits, including You Give Good Love, Saving All My Love, and the remake of The Greatest Love of all those number one hits on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and on the R&B Black Singles charts. She did a couple of movies, including The Bodyguard, Waiting to Exhale, and the remake of The Preacher's Wife. And yes, she appeared on some television shows, including the episode of Silver Spoons, and she was on a skit of NBC Saturday Night Live with the Christmas skit that had Rosie
My
O'Donnell and
favorite.
the late Penny Marshall. So
Yeah.
we'll put Whitney up there, and she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of
Whitney.
Fame for the class of 2020. Coming out of East Orange, New Jersey, rest in peace to the Princess of Pop, Whitney Houston. All
Yeah.
right, we should be at number 5.
Okay, you tell me that who did the song When a Man Loves a Woman?
Okay, Percy Sledge. Now I
Yeah.
can tell you, he did the original one, which was
Mhm.
number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and number 1 on the Soul Singles charts. And then Michael Bolton did the remake of that
Yeah.
one
Yeah. We're not talking
back
about
in.
He's also Michael was also no, we're talking about the original.
the
guy.
original. Yeah.
Yes, I was letting the audience know because not everybody knew that Michael Bolton did one, but me growing up, you had the original one, so we had to let the
Yes. Yes.
audience know about it because the younger generation didn't know, but when you
Exactly.
show them, the original of who did that, you have to, let the younger generation know. So
I
me growing
agree.
up, when I listened to some of the stuff that my late mother had albums from Gloria Lynn to some jazz LPs and especially Isaac Hayes, he's best known for doing cover songs that he would take it and stretch it to like 10, 15, 20 minutes. So, he's best known for that. So we'll put Percy Sledge at number 5.
Is that fine?
All right, who should be at number 4?
You want Ray Charles or B.B. King? Or...
BB King. I did Follow Spot for BB King, 2 shows. They were awesome. The
Oh,
bus driver gave me a hat. That was man, we were tight. I'm telling
the
you
things
what.
you remember.
Is it my turn to pick this one?
I don't know. Would you consider him soul? He's
yeah,
very blues, but
yeah. Well, BB, the king of the blues. He crossed over with some blues and as well as soul charts. Best known for his guitar Lucille. So that pick everything. He had some, string of hits, including The Thrill Is Gone, Caledonia, and I Like to Live the Love. And when in the 70s came in, he crossed over on the soul singles charts with a little help from Gamble Huff with his LP Philadelphia. No, not Philadelphia. The song Philadelphia from the LP called Friends. That was produced by Gamble Huff's teaming camp Dave Crawford, little help from MFSB, had some hits back then. And he teamed up with some other collaborators back in the 80s. And, Eric Clapton, his influence was B.B. King. So they
Yeah.
did a duet on the album. And yes, they were both in the movie Blues Brothers 2000. So you got to give it up for B.B. King. And
Yeah.
not only that, he appeared on some, TV episode of Sanford and Son and some other shows too. So we gotta give it up for BB King and his guitar Lucille. So every
Yeah. Oh,
time I
yeah.
hear
Yeah.
BB and his
Nice.
guitar, beep 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 beep. So that's Lucille. So we'll put
Yes.
Mhm.
Love
BB
it.
at number 4. All right, who should be at number 3?
We got three. So we got Aretha, we got Ray Charles, we've got Diana Ross,
I,
we've got
I want to present one to you,
oh,
Little Richard, because the Beatles used a lot of Little Richard stuff. That's what I'm going to go with. Little Richard.
Okay, Little Richard. They call him the originator of rock and roll. So we'll put Little Richard at number 3. And yes, he had some hits, but unfortunately, there was not that much hits when so many of the other white performers had made it their own, but Little Richard didn't get that credit. So we'll put Little Richard at number 3. First one to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the class of '86. When I saw him on the Grammy Awards back in 1987, along with Buster Poindexter to present the award for Who, and he'll always say, and the winner is me. I never see no Grammy. I never see no award. I never see nothing. So he got his award of merit. He got his lifetime Grammy Achievement Award. So yes. So hats off to Little Richard. Rest in peace to the one and only Little Richard. All right, who should be at number 2?
so I say Ray Charles and Aretha.
That's well.
So Ray Charles 2 and Aretha 1.
Okay, we'll put Ray Charles at number 2. Best known for his songs, including What I Say and Nighttime is the Right Time. And then we got into the 60s. He experimented with country music, including Georgia on My Mind, I Can't Stop Loving You, Well, You Don't Know Me, and his other songs, including America the Beautiful, just to name a few. So Ray Charles had done it all. He crossed all genres. He did soul, he did R&B, he did jazz, and he did country. So he had done all of those genres. So rest in peace to Mr. Ray Charles, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee for the class of '86. And yes, we got Aretha, the Queen of Soul, at number 1. She was churning out hits back in the 60s. Her number 1 hit, Respect, written by Otis Redding, although it didn't become a hit for Otis, but it became a hit for Aretha. From her debut LP, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, she won a Grammy Award for that song, and it became a women's empowerment movement song. And that was during the civil rights era back then. So that song was later used for a women's empowerment song. So Aretha had other hits, including Ain't No Way, and she did some remakes, including Don't Play That Song, and also This Girl's in Love with You, and some original songs, including Call Me and Daydreaming, Young, Gifted, and Black. And when she got into the 80s, she had some hits, including Jump to It, Freeway of Love, did a remake of Jumpin' Jack Flash, and
Yeah.
got into the 90s. So she was keeping up with the times with different producers. So, and everything. And with her involvement in civil rights, her father was a
Yeah.
minister back then. They knew Dr. King back then. So she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the class of 1987 and everything. So rest in peace to the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin, and we put her at number 1. Well, Ginine, Tracy, thank you so much for being here on the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you so
being
much.
here.
I
Mhm.
got one thing for you. I got a trivia
Yes.
question for you. Okay.
Okay.
So I know you're a brilliant guy, and he's got most of the stuff so far. So this is going to try to trip you up, but you probably know it. All right. Who wrote the drum part for "Ain't Superstitious" by Stevie Wonder?
Hmm. I don't know who was the drummer for that part because
No,
I
listen,
never
drum.
paid.
I'll give you a hint. It was a
Oh,
famous guitarist.
Player. Yeah.
oh, okay. Let me get this. It's got to be Ray Parker Jr. Is that correct?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that was the only one I know because Stevie Wonder appeared on an episode of Soul, which was aired on PBS back in the early 70s. So Stevie Wonder was the guest host, and I know Ray Parker Jr. was playing the guitar in the background and other musicians. That I know. So I saw the episode on PBS.
Mm-hmm. No, it was Jeff Beck.
Oh, Jeff Beck.
Jeff
Oh,
Beck.
I didn't.
And
I
how it
didn't
came
know
about
that.
was Stevie Wonder went to the bathroom, and Jeff Beck was on drums playing that beat, and he came back and said, "Hold it, man, keep playing that." And that's how they came up with the riff for "Ain't Superstitious."
Oh, okay. Because, me growing up, when I look at the LP, I just look at the album cover from the
Mhm.
LP talking book. And I look in the back of the album cover, all the songs and everything. But I've never seen anything, where you have all the credits. Because you see, back then, when you have those albums from the 60s and early 70s, they don't tell you, who did this, the drums you just mentioned,
Yeah.
who does all the credits, who did the background that made the song great. So as you look into the 80s and I looked inside, you see all the songs, who did what, who wrote the song, who was the background vocals, who did the
Right.
drums
Right.
and the bass and everything. So, there's a lot of things that, I didn't know. I just paid close attention to the album cover and the songs. When we got
Exactly.
Exactly.
into the
I think we all did.
80s,
Yeah.
but when you got into the 80s, now they have all the information
Exactly right.
because every time when I watch the Grammy Awards and they'll tell you, we know about the singer who's nominated for a Grammy Award, but there are some others like who's the producer, for the song, who was the songwriter, who did, the record, who did all the engineering in the background. So, me growing up, when I look at TV shows, I always like to find out who was the guest on the show, who did the music on the show. I look all the credits. Same
Mhm.
thing with the movies. I will find out who was in the movie, who did what. And with today's movies, many music supervisors, they use some of the songs or the artists that we were talking about a few minutes ago. They use that in the movies. And not only in the
Right.
movies, but they use some of that in commercials too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for having us. We really, really appreciate it. You're a brilliant guy.
Yeah. Had so
Thank
much
you
fun.
so much. And thank you for sharing your testimonies with us. And I
Appreciate
know that when people will see this episode, what you have been through for the both of you, I hope that someone out there will have that same situation that they had. They'll probably may listen to you. Because as a church deacon, we always have our praise and worship. We always ask the congregation, share your testimony. What had God had something that happened to you during the past week? Because if someone had that situation happen to them, someone that had happened to someone else.
Yep. Absolutely. Praise God. Thank you and
Yes.
keep in touch, please.
Yes. And speaking of that, where can we follow you for any upcoming events, including that album right behind you? And where can we find it
Ah,
on social media?
yeah.
Well, our website is heartsandsync.live.
Heartsandsync.live.
And
It's
then,
SYNC. So
yeah,
sync. Yep.
Hearts in, that's Hearts, I-N, S-Y-N-C
Yes.
.live. And through there, you'll see we have a bunch of other different domains as well, all inside that website.
And then,
You'll see everything that we're doing.
yeah, YouTube you could go to YouTube at Hearts in Sync. We've got some really cool lyric videos and some fun stuff in there, even footage of our wedding.
It's all in there.
Okay, thank you for the quick plug. Download all the artists that we have talked about on this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Visit iTunes.com, Spotify.com, or purchase a CD at Amazon.com. And make sure you follow Ginine and Tracy. Look for their website, heartsandsync.live, and you can check out all of their videos streaming online right now on YouTube. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check out this episode, please subscribe by going to the link. The link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s. Don't forget to add the S, -studio. And if you have a hard time getting on to riverside.fm, then please become a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. And yes, we will be posting this episode on YouTube. And please pass it on. Thank you for joining me as I close out this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience. Well, that's about it for this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. I'm Sam Wilson Jr. Thank you for joining me, and please tune in next week for an all-new episode. The Black Soul Music Experience podcast is sponsored by the support of listeners like you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe by going to riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s -studio. And don't forget to check out my audio podcast episodes by becoming a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. And also check out my video podcast episodes by subscribing to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. And please leave your comments, feedbacks, and replies by going to my Facebook homepage. Visit facebook.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. And you can also tweet me on X, aka Twitter, at Sam Wilson Jr. 66. As always, parting, remember this: reach for the top and your dreams will come true, and it can happen to you. From all of us, take care, God bless. Thanks for listening, have a good week, and please be safe.